At Ventum Financial, we believe that sharing another person's story is a privilege. The people inspiring and activating others, role modeling what's possible, solving problems today, and building for a better tomorrow. Who is relevant is subjective, but what if we turn the dial? Leaning into the courageous leaders who quietly drive positive change. This is Relevant, where leaders, creators, and change makers share the ideas shaping business, culture, and the world, one conversation at a time.
Hey, Tony, welcome to Relevant.
Great to meet. Thank you.
Good to meet you.
Appreciate it.
So, tell me about Octaform.
Octaform is a stay-in-place formwork technology company. That was a lot, wasn't it?
Yeah.
We make giant containment structures specifically for clean energy projects. So we focus in on the biogas industry, taking waste products, turning it into renewable natural gas. And the same tank that if you throw bacteria and waste in it, if you put clean water and fish in it, will grow the best possible land-based aquaculture fish. So that's where we focus. So food security in the land-based aquaculture industry, clean air and clean water in the biogas industry. We also service the agriculture industry and wastewater treatment plants. So we're just out there trying to clean the world up a bit.
So, this is a super interesting kind of technology, new technology brought to old industry in some cases, and new industry in some cases. How did you come to this?
Yeah, funny story. I was a filmmaker for 30 years. Started out as an actor.
Of course, as you would be.
As most people in clean energy do.
Yeah.
Then I got into directing because I kept telling directors what to do and they got upset about that. Then I started producing and running production houses. So creating projects all over the world, getting to meet people everywhere, seeing how things were done in different places. But underneath that was the mind of kind of a science nerd, and energy systems were always my thing. I left the film industry after shooting a documentary film in the Great Bear Rainforest. And while I was there, in the middle of a river with a camera in chest waders, water up to about here, I was by myself shooting the river going past me, which is a great metaphor in life.
Yeah.
And while I was having something tapped me on my back, and when I looked over my shoulder, it was probably a 15-pound steelhead salmon about that big, with another 50 behind her, in the middle of nature. And I'm not kidding, a voice in my head said, "You're leaving film now and you're going to go into clean energy." And I flew home and I told my wife that.
What was that conversation like?
A little strange because we had 2 babies at home.
Right.
My film career was doing pretty good, but a month later I started a company with a young partner called Unbuilders that was in the deconstruction space. So instead of demolishing a home, which we would do, 4,000 houses a year would be torn down and put in the Delta landfill here in Vancouver.
Wow.
Most of that was old growth wood from trees on these mountains that were 500 years old, 1,000 years old. We'll never see those trees again.
Yeah.
Coming through and pleasure. And we were able to take a new technology, demolition, turn it into an old technology, meaning taking each piece of wood by hand.
Yeah.
And literally deconstructing the home and putting all of that wood back into the supply chain.
Wow.
Tough company to get off the ground in a world of demolition, but we did really well. It went on Dragon's Den. All of the dragons purchased, I sold, and I left to form another company that was battling waste plastic by turning that into low carbon jet fuels. This is where it gets energy and geeky again. The owner of Octaform was my lead investor in that project. He saw what we were doing, asked my business partner and I to come over and work with him on his projects. I discovered Octaform and I was a kid in a candy store. As soon as I saw that technology and what it was capable of, I just asked him, can I concentrate on this? And in 5 years, we've gone 6 times growth. We went from being a niche manufacturer to being the global leader in aquaculture around the world. We're now the go-to supplier for biogas in the United States when we had 0 tanks in the ground 4 years ago. So we're kind of that Cinderella story overnight that just happened.
And did it evolve from kind of the infrastructure to the systems as well? Or are you still primarily kind of the infrastructure component?
Interesting question. It has so many different outputs it could be, but for the most part, as much as I love it, Other people just see them as giant tanks.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's a piece of infrastructure, but we've been over 28 years in research and development. I think the owners spent probably $15 to $20 million creating the very perfect environment for either fish to live in or bacteria to
So you
thrive.
had the infrastructure, and you kind of engineered solutions with that.
Consistently. We haven't stopped, actually. We're now finding new outputs that this product can do. We're kind of imagining the future 10 years from now and trying to get ready for that, because it takes a while to prepare.
And who are the consumers? Are these municipalities? Are these private enterprise? Both?
Largest companies in the world, companies
Really?
like Shell are customers, utilities are customers, big project developers who people don't really know the names of those guys, but they're the ones staking that ground and building the big new projects that other people are afraid to try. The largest construction companies in the world up here in Canada would be like PTL, Bird, Maple Rangers, people like that.
And where does this business go from here? So you keep developing this. You've got a global footprint forming, expanding. What's next?
Wow. 7 new markets this year alone.
Wow.
We're opening you've got projects in Australia, India. We're opening the Chinese market right now. We're going back to Europe, where this all started for us, building one of the largest aquaculture projects in Sweden coming up. South America, Brazil, Chile. It's just become an explosion recently. We went from being the kid that no one knew about to being the title sponsor of the big trade show. That's right. The rise in the past few years.
And how's that been funded? I'm curious. And then how have you resourced it? Like with that kind of 7 new markets, plus all the growth you've already seen, like how have you been able to kind of deal with the financial capital and the human capital side?
You heard that term, bootstrapping?
Yeah.
Luckily, our founder and owner, Dave Richardson, had a couple extra bucks.
Yeah.
So instead of going out and raising, he took it upon himself. I call him a mad scientist. I don't think he'd mind me calling him that.
Yeah.
He just took it into the workshop and never gave up until it was there. A number of designers came on board, helped us out, but it was really a passion project that turned into kind of an industrial
Solution.
Overnight.
Yeah. So tell me about the Iceland project.
Wow. Yeah, the First Water project. First Water is potentially the largest aquaculture project ever attempted on Earth. I'll give you an idea. A really large land-based fish farm is about 1,000 to 2,000 tons of fish per year. They're expecting to produce 50,000 tons of fish there. If you've been to Iceland, have you been to Iceland?
I have been to Iceland, yeah.
It's like the moon covered in moss.
Yes, yeah.
And this project's being built on a shelf that was only formed 200 years ago. So it's fresh volcanic rock. They bored down 65 meters through the volcanic rock to pull up pure water, no lice, no bacteria, completely oxygenated. The entire project's being run off of thermal geysers, so it's carbon negative. It's going to feed a quarter of Europe its protein needs.
That's
and
amazing.
It's the basis for, I think, the future of aquaculture.
And how many tanks is that?
So a big one right now, 5-10 tanks.
Yeah.
This is 160.
Yeah.
Massive, 30 meters by 9 meters high, or for people in the States, 100 feet by 30 feet.
And partners on that, is that a 3P kind of situation, or is that a private?
You know what's interesting about aquaculture now? Let's go back in time. Aquaculture 1.0, guy had a hook and a rod. 2.0, we added a boat. 3.0, giant nets, radar, sonar, everything you can imagine. We're at the point now where we fish the oceans out. We only have 90% of the protein needs left in the ocean for our population. Once we get to 10 billion by 2030, the ocean's empty. And if you've ever gone skin diving in the Mediterranean, you know what I'm talking about. There's nothing left there. This is an opportunity to create wild stock abundance, to take a flailing industry. And when I say flailing, I mean a tuna boat goes off the coast. They load their holds up, and then on the way back, they find out the spot price of diesel's gone up 10 cents. So they dump everything overboard because they can't afford to bring it into port.
Wow.
That's the problem with, call it aquaculture 3.0. Here's aquaculture 4.0. Build a tank on the land, fill it with fish, take care of that habitat like you would your family, and you will provide the world with protein that's pure, no antibiotics, no PFAS, no PFOS, no lead, no mercury. You can't find that in wild stock anymore, unfortunately, even.
And so Iceland, just because of the thermal contribution and kind of the net carbon negative, but this could be anywhere.
This could be
Maybe less
anywhere
energy efficient.
in the right environment. And I'll tell you where that right environment is. Iceland, Norway, Canada.
Oh, interesting.
There you are. We need water down there at about 12 degrees, 11 degrees for the fish to really thrive and grow the best they can. So we're talking about this place right here being the best place in the world to grow wild fish in the ocean and abundant, what I'd call industrialized aquaculture on land here.
And so how many of these would you be contemplating? Is this a proof of concept, a scaled proof of concept of this 4.0, and then you'd be looking to kind of replicate this just anywhere that it makes sense? Or
you're knocking on an interesting door right now. A small group of businessmen and I have formed what we call Salmon Canada. It's a multi-billion-dollar initiative to create industrialized aquaculture projects across the country, from the East Coast to the West Coast. It's a 3-pillar system, the first pillar being wild salmon abundance again, the middle pillar being coastal transition, so both of our coastlines won't be shocked by the change in the industry. And the third pillar over on this side is a national aquaculture program that will create thousands of high-paying jobs, not just shovel and sign jobs, but real engineering jobs, real science jobs, the kind of jobs that build communities.
tell me about the coastal shock. What would the coastal shock be by implementing something like this? Just suddenly an increase in population from previous overfishing, or?
Right. Well, many people know that there's a lot of politics in aquaculture. Some people know the difference between a net pen in the ocean and a tank on the ground. Some people don't. They just call it fish farming. So we have had decades of what I'd say not the optimal way to grow fish in Canada. And we've turned that corner now where through international trade, we've gotten to see what works in other places, what works here. We could position Canada to be the leader in aquaculture overnight. We are igniting a plan that in the next 5 years, we'll start at least 2 of those facilities and lead us to be the #1 aquaculture country in the world. I met with the Prime Minister a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him a basic question. Would you rather import salmon from Chile and Norway or export it? Yeah. And that started that conversation. He said export. And I said, if I had a multi-billion-dollar plan that would ignite this overnight and get it going, would you be interested? And he said, can I have your business card? And while I was pulling it out, he said, you know I'm married, right? And we had such a great moment and laugh that I realized, I think we can do this. From there, my partners met with the PMO's office after that. And there's a lot of people that think that things can't get done, especially big things. And we're living proof that you can get the ball rolling right away.
I love hearing this. I literally had a conversation earlier today about Canada needing to get back to having some sector eminence globally and being kind of leaders in the kind of global framework around kind of industry initiatives, industrial initiatives. And so certainly fish farming wasn't on my bingo card,
right?
You know, thinking about that, but that's incredible.
What if I can compare it to nuclear energy?
Right.
We have a system in Canada called CANDO. Right. We developed our own nuclear initiative. We don't use it that much, but we made that. I like to use that model for what I call CanFish. And the Canada could not only be a global leader, but we could just take care of ourselves.
Right.
And national...
If nothing else. That's right. If nothing else, we just feed ourselves.
Yeah. National food security is on par with national energy security. And in 2026, I think we've figured out that those are necessary. So this is an opportunity for Canada to stand out on its own, not be dependent on other cultures. If you go to a grocery store here right now, you're going to pick up a salmon that came from Chile or Norway. You're not going to pick up a Canadian salmon in some of the bigger stores. So that has to change right now. There's no reason for a fish to ever be put in a plane. That's ridiculous.
Right.
They're better at swimming than fishing, or than flying.
So you had this established career in film. You have this aha moment that you're going to pivot to sustainability. You make that move. What was the hardest adjustment to move from filmmaking at scale, so to speak, into innovation, clean tech, sustainability, merging with old world industrial? That couldn't have been straightforward.
It was the strangest thing ever. Honestly, I'd spent so much time in a rhythm in film and the language of film and the physical act of it as well, everything from pre-production, production, post-production. And all of a sudden, in one fell sweep, I had decided I'm changing everything, and I had no idea what that meant. But it took me about a week to realize that I like good challenges. I like big challenges. I like impossible tasks. That's where I think there's magic. And literally 1 month later, we were signing papers on a new company with a partner I just met. We were determining to do something that no one's ever tried before. 6 months later, pretty hard to get off the ground. Any company, no matter what you're doing, there's that bootstrapping first few months of what the hell have we done? Luckily, we were in the city of Vancouver that had a green mandate. And we were able to sit down with city council. My partner helped rewrite the green demolition bylaws, and instantly we were given not an advantage, but parity. We were given parity with demolition so that we could compete. And within 1 year, we were it. We were suddenly taking down more houses than demolition was, returning all that really great lumber back into the supply chain. I do have what's called wood lust. A lot of people have it. You see men chopping wood and keeping piles of it in their yard. I'm like them, but I like lumber. So the building we're standing in right now was built out of 1,000-year-old trees. They'll never exist again. So whenever I'm in an old building, I get kind of, a little bit excited. The hardest part was readjusting my mindset to do something that was more 9 to 5 than film, which is more like 6 in the morning till 6 the next morning. Having that kind of stability was a huge advantage for me. I was able to concentrate. We were in the right place at the right time, but it was still just roll your sleeves up and make it up as we went along. When we concluded that business a few years later, for me, my partner went on with it. I was ready for a huge change already. It felt like it had been 10 years. And I wanted to take everything I learned there and bring it into what I considered bigger fractions of waste. Everything for me is about a waste to value obligation. And my motto is waste is just value with a bad reputation. People see waste and I see a resource. And I took that mindset with me into Octaform, not looking at it as a regular business structure where we were doing something that other people were doing. I just focused in and said, no one does what we do. We're blue ocean. Our technology is different than everyone else's. Everyone makes regular things. We make something from the future. That comes with its own problems because engineers are born pessimists. They want to tell you it's not going to work. And so we've spent 28 years convincing the world that our technology from the future is now the present, and it's working.
So I think of organizations as living organisms, and they have immune systems, and they hate change and they attack change. That immune system attacks change.
Yeah.
How much of that were you dealing with, or were you able to, because you were at the formative stage of these companies, you were able to bring the right people in where you weren't kind of fighting a rearguard action in the business, or was there some of that?
Interesting. Yeah, when I came on board, and to be transparent, I didn't come on board as the CEO. I came on board as a consultant, but I fell so in love with what was going on that I guess I created this path for myself to do this. There was a couple people when I arrived there that you could just tell they weren't part of the culture. They disappeared quickly, but when you said bring people in, I didn't have to. We already had a team. Our team were amazing. I just don't think they were given the tools or the freedom to be themselves there. And my management style is strictly, if you're working for me, you're the owner. Right. It's kind of Kaizen, but on steroids, where you're looking at someone and saying, you make the decision. And if you make a mistake, you won't the next time. So, everyone's been empowered to take on more responsibility inside the company. Everyone's been empowered to be a designer and also to be an advocate for the business itself. So I think that's given us more gas in the tank than anything I've provided, is just giving everyone their freedom.
And how hard is that to watch at times? Because I too believe that you need to tell people what success looks like. You need to empower them, and you need to kind of get out of the way.
Yeah.
But sometimes you're watching it and it's not the way you do it, and you're pretty sure it's going to go pear-shaped. And how much have you struggled or not struggled with that dynamic, and when to push and pull there, and when do you let somebody fail even?
Yeah. Anyone who says they don't struggle with that is a liar.
Yeah.
There is no such thing as imposter syndrome. That's also important. That's an excuse to say, I'm just like everyone else, I'm figuring this out, as opposed to, I feel like an imposter. There's no such thing. But I think management's also supposed to be a disappearing act. The idea is, if it's working, you shouldn't even be there.
Yeah.
And when it's not working, the part you're talking about, that's like firefighting sometimes. You have to jump in and try and put out a fire, but make sure you're aiming the hose in the right direction. Because sometimes what appears to be the problem isn't. And that's where nuance comes in, I think. And every human's got half of us are leaders and the other half is listening, I think, to try and make sure we're not just going like that, but understanding what the situation is. It's tough.
So on your journey as a leader and innovator, where are you focused on growth?
My team.
Yeah.
100%.
Developing your team
Yeah. They're the ones that are actually creating the path for us. I'm just holding up a light, I think. And that sounds kind of cheesy, but really,
you're a filmmaker.
Yeah, I have to use those kind of metaphors. I can't help it. It's the team. The job of the leader isn't so much to lead and them follow. I think it's to tell the story of who we are, so that they have an identity, and then they can carry that forward.
So you were talking earlier about expansion, 7 new markets. You've already seen incredible growth. What lessons have you learned in the growth profile so far that you are going to be able to apply here in these new markets?
First of all, were you ever a Boy Scout?
Yes.
Be prepared.
Right.
That's the most important thing. When I first got to the company, the first thing I noticed was, they didn't see the kind of growth. I saw exponential growth, but I saw production capacity that could only get us
incremental. Yeah.
So instead of saying, okay, we're growing right now, it's like, okay, we're going to grow in a couple of years. We need to prepare for that. We need to have production capacity in place globally so we can make that big lift. And we have to design systems into the business so that all that heavy lifting isn't just going to make us fall over and go.
So how much of that infrastructure is proprietary internal, and how much of it have you outsourced to the scaling point?
So we work with third-party manufacturers who are very direct partners.
So you own the IP, but
we own the IP, we own the tools. They're the experts at creating it. And it's a very technical process. So we allow them to give us our perfect product, and then we can use that with our customers to build anything.
Interesting. And as you scale into these markets, it's a whole new set of conversations with customers, potential customers, existing customers. I'm curious the tone of those conversations. How much of those conversations are maybe altruistic and kind of sustainability kind of subsidized based, and how much are just pure commercial, this is good business commercial, or is it just a combination at times? What's this experience?
You found the green button. The conversation with customers is different every time. What you think a big customer is thinking, when we ask them, is this about the sustainability part of your project, or is this about the lowest cost, or is this about getting it done fast? What is it about? I'm always surprised, because when I see someone that I think they look green, they look like they maybe had dinner with David Suzuki last week. It turns out they're like, I don't care.
Get it done cheap
get
and
it done
fast.
tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
And then someone else who looks like they're just a penny pinching developer who just, they're really, they'll come to me first and say, no, this has to be done right. This has to be sustainable. It has to be durable. I don't want to knock down a bad piece of equipment to build it again and go from there. So every time is a bit of a therapy session with the customer, just to find out who they really are and what they really want.
And do they even know at times, or are you helping them figure that out?
A lot of them do come to the table with a sense of it. I'll give you the best example. 5 years ago, when the whole world greenwashed itself, everyone had a green logo saying we're eco this, we're ESG, all the words were used for about 4 years until we all became blind to it because everyone just says they're doing it. Few people actually are. And they become the leaders that inspire other people to build their projects right after that. We keep talking about aquaculture. In that realm, there's really only a few companies that have been really successful with it so far. That's because I'd say it was experimental to a point. And now once 2 or 3 companies actually make their nut that year, it's not experimental anymore, it's infrastructure. So we're attacking it from that side now, saying, okay, you don't have to pretend we're doing something new. This actually works. We've been to the moon before, we're going again. It's that kind of a feeling now, instead of, I hope we can get to the moon and go from there.
So what companies out there or company out there is inspiring you? Who are you seeing out there that you are just really admiring and maybe want to emulate in some way?
That's a great question. There's so many. In my own industry, there's one company in aquaculture. There's a company called Benchmark Genetics. They provide the world with the eggs and the fish to get those projects going. I think they've been really strong in growing their brand, but doing it really integrally. In the biogas space, one of our customers actually really inspires me, Purpose Energy. Their mandate is to take food waste and turn that into energy and help build a different system down in the States. Those are the people that kind of get me really going. I'll give you an example on that. The United States uses 4 trillion kilowatt hours of electricity per year. The United States throws out 1 trillion kilowatt hours worth of food before it's even eaten every year. So the food that we throw out could actually sustain 1/4 of our grid needs. So we're getting to that tipping point now where the abundance of the world in the 20th century has finally led us to the place where even CEOs are looking at the gas pump, right? It's a different world. So if we start looking at those kind of generation ideas, and when I mean generation, I don't mean people, I mean electricity, we have the ability to see other avenues that can feed into that as well too. And the companies that are kind of focusing in those areas, in energy, in food security, in clean air, clean water technologies, those are the ones that are kind of leading the way, and then the big utilities follow and do it just like them. So we're kind of leaders leading leaders, I think, is the idea.
And if you could think back on one piece of advice you've received that you think is still very relevant today, what would that be?
Believe in yourself, beyond anything, beyond what you're doing, beyond who you're working with, beyond what you're up against, whether it's economic, whether it's medical, whatever's going on in your life. The powerhouse that you have in your mind can actually achieve anything that you want. And there's so many pieces of proof of that around you that it can't be denied. It's not me saying it like an evangelist. Anyone who's ever had success in their life had it because of the horrible things they went through to get there, not because it was just a nice pillow that took them to that place. So struggle's important and mindset's important. Those two things together propel. That's energy.
Tony, thank you so much for joining us today. It was
What
a real pleasure.
Thanks.
All the best. Keep doing amazing work. It's inspiring.
You too. I really appreciated this. And, there's a lot of things to do in this world, and dialogue's a really important part of it. So thank you.
Thank you.